Hello. Are we on? Can you hear me? Yay. Great. So welcome to InstallFest. It's really great to be here. Thanks for coming to my talk. Here's my contact info. Please feel free to contact me anytime for any reason. I love helping people, and if I can help you, I'll let you know. And if I can't, we can just say hi. So yeah, I'm here to talk about open hardware. I've been doing open hardware since 2006, and yeah, it's still kind of a new thing. Open software, of course, has been around for a long time, and I've been using it since at least the 90s. But yeah, I'm going to tell a story about how I got into it and why I think it's really relevant and helpful. I love promoting open hardware because it's just so cool for everyone. I mentor lots of people. That's one of the things I do. And I love mentoring people, especially if they have a project that's meaningful to them, that they want to share with other people, and they maybe want to start a small business to share that with other people. And the people that I mentor, of course, totally understand open hardware, but they quite often have partners or friends, or worse yet, investors who have no idea about open hardware, and they say, what? Open hardware? You want to, what? We're going to give our idea away for free? Like competitive, what? And so anyways, this talk is about why. And there are a lot of really good reasons why. I'm going to talk about why it's relevant, especially since the projects we do, we think they're cool because they're personally meaningful to us. And I'm going to share about a project that's personally meaningful to me, a project which I've made a living on. Me and 12 friends actually have made a living on for the last 19 years. And it's open hardware. And to explain why this is relevant for the project and open hardware, I'll talk about some personal story. Yeah, so some people were at a talk a few days ago with Microlab, and apologies because this will repeat some of that, but bear with me. It's a fun story anyways, but it doesn't start off fun because when I was a kid, I was totally depressed, and I was beaten by bullies every day, quite often while teachers watched, usually the gym teacher. Do you have gym teachers here? Gym teachers, I don't know, who chooses to be a gym teacher? Anyways, when I was a kid, they were the worst people, and they would watch while the bullies beat me up. You know, and bullies, why do they beat up little queer kids? Well, because they're little queer kids, I guess. I was an introverted geek, gay, bad at sports, all these things that bullies beat people up for, and I blamed myself. What did I know? I was a little kid. My parents were also super depressed. I didn't know that at the time, but they couldn't deal with my stuff. They couldn't even deal with their own. And life for me was really total hell. So I wanted to escape my life. You can't escape your life. But as a little kid, again, I didn't know, so I tried to escape into television, where kids, unlike me, were beautiful, had understanding friends, loving parents, problems that resolved by the end of every show. Comparing myself to them, I just got more depressed. But the next show would come on, and I could sort of forget about it for a little bit. But then the show would end. But there'd be another show, and another show, and another show. Eventually, of course, I had to go to sleep from exhaustion. But throughout all of this, I would just sit there eating junk food, getting fatter. I wouldn't learn anything useful. I wouldn't learn how to deal with other kids. It just made me more of a target at school, only to want to retreat into TV again more when I got home. TV was my first addiction. Of course, after that, I tried many more. But anyways, these are long stories, but that's enough for this talk. The main thing is time went away, show by show, day by day, year by year. And I stayed depressed because I was just trying to escape from everything rather than dealing with it. But eventually, I caught on, and I quit in my 20s. I'm now 67 years old. So in 1980, I quit. I got rid of TV from my apartment. Actually, I had like 50 TVs in my apartment because I'm a geek and I did stuff like that. I still do stuff like that, but not with TVs. Anyways, I finally quit TV. I got rid of it in my apartment and my life. And for many years, life became better. It gave me suddenly lots of time and energy to explore, to try to find ways of living a life that's more reasonable for me, to try to learn to live with my depression, and I eventually did learn to live a life that I actually find way worthwhile, a life I actually love living. But then, something happened. In 1993, I noticed, for the first time, a television in a public place. Before 1993, there weren't. Can you imagine a world with no TVs in public places? It used to exist for hundreds of thousands of years, for that matter. But in my life, 1993 is the first time I saw it. First, there was one in cheap Chinese takeout restaurants, and then more, and then more. This force that I got rid of in my life was popping up all over in public places. More and more were appearing all over the place. More and more. And this invading force that I'd gotten rid of in my life was now reminding me of all this stuff that I thought I dealt with. But when a TV is on, even if the sound is off, these little creatures are bouncing around in color and going, look at me, look at me. I can't not look at it. And I was with some friends looking at it, and they were looking at it, and that's when I realized, even though I can't do anything at all about these things that are encroaching on my life all over in public, I'm a geek. I knew I could make a remote control to turn them all off. So I did. And we called it TV Be Gone, which is very relevant for me in my life. I wanted one for me. Inventing is really all about this. Inventors see a problem, perhaps a problem that other people don't even see or notice. In this case, TVs all over in public places. It just was sort of there, but I noticed it. And then you come up with an idea. That's just sort of automatic, wherever ideas come from. And then implementation, which is really the hard part. For me, that took 10 years before I actually started working on it, and then a year and a half of my life obsessively making it working. And it's really hard, but it is very satisfying once it works. But it does take lots of time. It really did take a year and a half. I thought it would be like maybe a few months, but whatever. I made the time and I made it happen. It was a big part of me. I was obsessed with it. I was devoted to it because it's a big part of me. But then TV Be Gone exists. And then for the next 20 years, me and 12 friends who helped me made a living on it. We sold 880,000 of these. And it wasn't open at the beginning. In fact, I patented it because that's what inventors did back in 2003, 2004. My brother, that's my brother, he's a patent attorney. I'm an inventor. My brother is a patent attorney. Everyone that we knew back then said, that's a perfect match, because inventors patent their ideas, patent attorneys patent them. My brother would patent things for me without charging for his time, because we actually get along. He's a really cool person. But yeah, so in 2003, I started the process of patenting TV Be Gone. It took, as it turned out, 2 years to patent it. The original prototype for TV Be Gone was this smiley face. You wear it like this. The two eyeballs were infrared LED emitters, because infrared remote controls worked with LED emitters, and then the nose was the activation button. And then the off codes would just transmit one after the other, after the other, after the other to get all of the TV off codes out there. So if there was a TV in the room, it would be off, and the world would be a better place as a result. So anyways, I patented TV Be Gone. Oh, and also, it cost me 30,000 euros. even though my brother didn't charge me anything for his time. I had no idea it was going to take a year and a half, or 2 years, over 2 years actually, and 30,000 euros to make this happen. If I knew that at the beginning, I probably wouldn't have done it. But anyways, I did. Patents, everyone used to say, and often still do say, promote innovation. Patents promote innovation. They encourage the individual to create things, put it out in the world. They get a 17-year monopoly where no one else can touch it, and that gives them a chance to put it out in the world and make money from it. The patent itself, like here, there's a lot of legalese in it, but it has to give enough information so someone who knows what they're doing, so-called skilled in the art, can make your thing. Of course, people try to hide that in their patents as well, but that's another story. But the information is there, and anyone can make your thing 17 years later, and then improve upon it. You may or may not know about it, but that's supposed to spread ideas and improve upon them, and in many ways, it does. It's supposed to incentivize small-time inventors, people like me and maybe some of you, maybe all of you. But it did cost me 30,000 euros. That's the minimum, and that's without paying for the lawyer. It's expensive. You have to, for it to be useful, to defend it in court, you have to have it in the US, the biggest market in the world, Europe, close second, and China, where they make a lot of this stuff. And you have to translate it into all of those languages as well, which is also expensive. And you can't do it yourself, really, because that's a lot of legalese talk, which most humans can't understand. So anyways, that's the idea. I did patent TV Be Gone. It took all this time, but in 2004, it wasn't a patented thing yet. And on the package, I wrote patent pending. I'll have a picture of that soon. But TV Be Gone, I just made it for me. I made it into a product, though, because my friends wanted one. Well, that was sort of the first step. My friends, of course, all wanted one because they're my friends that are as weird as I am. But when they told their friends, many of their friends wanted one as well. I was going to make one for all my friends, but I couldn't make it for all my friends' friends. That was too many people. But it turns out they told their friends, and these friends of friends of friends wanted one, and there was no way I could make enough for them. But when friends of them actually wanted them, that's when I thought, wow, maybe this weird idea that I just wanted one for me that's personally relevant for me was relevant for all these other people. And then since I'm a geek and I've done manufacturing for little companies in the past, I knew the process. So I manufactured as many as I could afford, which was 20,000 of them. And like I said, it took a year and a half to make, but there it is in its final package. And it's ready to go, ready to sell. And I thought somehow, I don't know why I thought this, but somehow I thought I could sell 5,000 of them. And even if it took 5 years or whatever, you know, I would break even if I could sell 5,000 of them. And then if I sold any more, that would be profit. Maybe it'd be a little profit. Maybe it would supplement my income. I didn't know. But somehow I knew I could sell 5,000, even if it took lots of years. And then there'd be at least 5,000 people in the world turning TVs off in public places, and that would be pretty cool. So it turned out, though, that I was totally wrong. I did not sell 5,000 of them in 5 years. I sold all 20,000 in 3 weeks. The first day of sales were so popular that my website crashed because I just had some little hosting company, and it didn't even charge me more for more web traffic. It just shut down. So by noon, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, the website was off. But in that day, I got $30,000 of sales. I used to live in San Francisco. I now live in Berlin. But yeah, and I was called by National Public Radio in the United States, and that was live. I'd been up all night trying to make my website work, and then from from that, all these people heard it, and I got called by the New York Times for an interview, by Deutsche Welle, BBC, Radio France, all these TV stations, all these magazines. That was just the first day. It was crazy. It changed my life forever, and it was stressful, but it was so much fun, and my life has been just so amazing ever since. Of course, ups and downs of life, but yeah, this stuff changes lives. It got me invited to my first hacker conference. That was in Berlin, Germany. This is where I started falling in love with Berlin, which is why I now live there. This hacker conference was huge. It was thousands of people, all these people with all these projects, some of them hardware, some of them software, some of them just kind of social things, whatever. Everyone was sharing what they were doing. It was really wonderful experience, and that changed my life forever. I made friends there that I'm still friends with to this day. But one thing totally surprised me. I gave this talk, and then I gave away a bunch of TV Begons because I had a bunch with me, and they noticed patent pending written on the package. And in my life previous to this, that was a positive thing. I'm an inventor with a patent that's, it's not quite ready yet, but it's pending. There it is. And all these people in the audience in the Q&A were accusing me of stifling innovation. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, stifling innovation? What are these people talking about? I'm patents are supposed to encourage innovation. They're saying I'm stifling. What am I supposed to say to answer this? I don't know. How do I answer that? And I just well, it took me 10 years to start doing this. That was a long time, and a year and a half of my life I've devoted to this. I don't want others just to take it, do I? Maybe there are evil capitalists out there. They're just going to do it for the money and not because it's making people's lives better. It's not making the world better. They're just going to do it from, I don't know, maybe patent pending on the package will discourage people from copying it. And then, wait a minute, why am I saying all this stuff? It didn't really make sense to myself, let alone to people in the audience. And I started thinking about it after the conference, even during the conference, and I realized what I was doing was just going with the old ways of thinking without thinking about it. It's an old way of thinking, an old paradigm. And it really goes like that. This thing that I think is cool, maybe you think it's cool too, but don't come near it. If you come near it, I'm going to sue your ass. Get the hell away from me. That's not a very nice thing to say, but that's basically what I think is being said when you patent something. And then it keeps everyone else from being able to learn from what you did. They have to wait 17 years to improve upon it and then share it with others. And maybe you'll find out about it, maybe you won't. It really is stifling innovation and many other things in people's lives. And what I realized is that that's not the way I live my life. I live my life more like this. I want to share what I do and like with other people. That's more of who I am. And TV Be Gone, even though it wasn't explicitly open hardware at the time, because there really wasn't much open hardware at the time, people didn't think of that. People, of course, thought about free open software. And like I said, I've been using that for a long, long time by then. But open hardware, people just didn't so much think about that then. Some did, and we were friends. We became friends over this. But yeah, if I have something, I want to share it with others. People were helping me. I'm just one engineer, and I'm pretty good, but there were all these creative people who were helping me make TV Be Gone better and sharing it now, not 17 years later. So they were also learning from it, and people hacked on it and made variations on it and did a whole bunch of other cool things. So I made TV Be Gone open hardware in 2007. And I got together with Adafruit, Limor Fried, and Evil Mad Scientist, and we went to the first Open Hardware Summit in 2010, a few years later, and collectively with other people, we created the definition for open hardware. Open hardware is a really simple definition. You just share all of the source files so that anyone can do whatever they want with it. Nothing's hidden. And the only restrictions you can put on it, there are two restrictions you can put on it. One is if people use it for whatever purpose, they have to give you credit for it. That's the buy or accreditation. And then if they use it for any purpose, they have to share it alike with the same open hardware license. You can add those restrictions or not, that's up to you, but you can't add any more. You can't say it can't be used non-commercially. Other people have to be able to use it for any purpose. You might like those purposes or not, but if you want to make it open, you have to deal with the whole thing. So this is a way it was thought that would truly encourage innovation. And of course, it's turned out to be true, it does. I licensed, at the time, there weren't really many open hardware licenses. I used the one that was available, and I still use this, Creative Commons BY-SA. BY means give credit, SA, share alike. If you use it, you have to share it again with the same license. And many people have done that with TV Gone and other projects of mine since then, and I find out about it right away, and then I can improve my project, and if it's a product, I can improve the product as well. And that gets more people to know about my thing. The thing is that's really cool, of many things, the cost of an open hardware license is free, as in beer. Unlike the patent, which for me was cheap at 30,000 euros and a year and a half of my time, plus the times of waiting. Big difference. By now, there's lots of companies making money, profit from open hardware products, and there are a lot of open hardware licenses to choose from. And they all have pluses and minuses, advantages, disadvantages. But you know, from my opinion, I think you can just choose one. It doesn't matter so much. TV Be Gone, there are people who made lots and lots of variations. And all of these talented, creative, friendly engineers were helping me with them, and I found out about it right away, like I said, and improved my project. Was able to publish all of that. I could improve my product so that it became a better thing for people to turn off TVs better and easier and more friendly. And that was all for free. Totally free help, engineering help, which is quite expensive if you have to pay for it. And I couldn't because I'm just a small company, just me and a few friends. But try that with a proprietary patented product. It's not going to happen that way. All these people who copy my thing and make it, I don't get a cent for that. I don't make any money when people copy it and make it, but those people are super excited. They made it because they think it's totally cool. They thought my thing that I made that I think is cool, they thought it was cool too, and they would make it and it works and they're excited about it, they're enthusiastic about it, they share that with all the people they know. They're saying, look at this cool thing that I made and look what it does, it turns TVs off. And they go to a sports bar and turn a TV off and everyone goes, whoa, that's pretty amazing. And that's PR that I could not afford. All of these people that find out about it, if they're into it at all, maybe some percentage of those are actually going to buy my thing, or maybe they'll make it and tell more people, and some percentage of those people will buy my thing. And all of this PR is free. PR that, again, I could not afford as just a small company. There's no audio. So this is a 30-second commercial that some people made because they thought TV Be Gone was cool. And they thought it would be funny to have a TV commercial for something that turns TVs off. And another friend made the music for it. And so she has a multi-track recorder, and she's singing. So it sounds like a whole chorus of people singing the praises of TV Be Gone and turning TVs off. And anyways, we never expected that to be actually used on TV. It was just a joke. But when I got invited to Fox TV News, they actually played it. After I turned all of the TVs off in their studio at their request. and they all turned off all at once to audible gasps by all of the employees. That was fun. Anyways, none of that would happen with a proprietary patented product. Another thing with making your thing open is your sharing. People tend to really love it when you share and help them. And that creates a lot of goodwill, which again is totally free. And people like sharing and helping in return or paying it forward. This is just really cool. That doesn't happen very often with a proprietary patented product. But the best thing is that, you make a thing because you think it's cool. Why don't you want to share something that you think is cool with other people, especially if they think it's cool too, or might think it's cool? Others benefit from it when you do that. You're doing your thing. You put so much time and energy into it because you want to put it out in the world. And if other people are copying it and putting it more out into the world, what could be better? And in my case, I made TV Be Gone because, well, first of all, I wanted one for me, but I made it into a product so that other people would see the benefits of turning TV off and maybe do something more interesting than drooling in front of a screen and wasting their time. Put this back on. And when other people copy it, it makes it much easier for more and more people to turn TVs off and maybe benefit from it, as well as have a lot of fun. That also wouldn't happen with a proprietary patented product. But when you do all of this, it's just everyone benefits. I benefit. I get all these free PR, free engineering help, and free publicity. And it's just a win-win-win for everyone all the way around. Why would I not want to do that? And of course, it also means that more TVs are turning off all over the world. And the more TVs that turn off in the world, the better the world becomes. So yeah, that doesn't happen with a proprietary patented product. One thing with intellectual property that I think is actually somewhat useful, unlike patents, is trademarks or registration in Europe. If you have a project that you think is cool and you want to share it with the world, it's good to give it a name. That name is going to become somehow, that'll be the identity for the project, but it also somehow becomes part of your identity because it's your project. And it's really good to, it's really cheap to do this in the US and in Europe. You just fill out a form online and then it's your name. And then other people, if they want to use it, have to get your permission. And that gives you the ability to choose who to use your name in association with the project. Other people can use the project with other names, but if they're going to use your name, part of your identity, they have to ask permission. And if you want, you can choose who you think gives it the right vibe, the right attitude. You can also, if you want to, license the name for some extra income. And some people used TV Be Gone and wanted to give me royalties for it. And I was like, well, you can just do it for free, but if you want to pay me, okay. And so I've gotten supplementary income from licensing the name. Like with everything, there might be downsides for even open hardware, but the only one that I can really think of is if you have a project which is primarily business to business, and then not from you to the rest of the world in general, because your cool project to the rest of the world in general can create community, and it's the community that creates most of these benefits. If it's just business to business, there's not much community quite often, so maybe that's not the best thing. So I don't know, that's the only thing I can think of. But what happens if someone violates your intellectual rights? Well, if it's a patent, the only recourse you have if someone infringes upon your patent, they copy it and use it against the rules of patent law, the only thing you can do is to hire a lawyer or a whole set of lawyers and then spend hundreds of thousands of euros minimum so that they can go to court and defend your intellectual rights, and months minimum of your life in court with people you probably don't like. And if you are just an individual or in a small company, there's no way you can afford to do that. And there's no way you want to do that. But if you have an open source license and someone violates the terms of the open source license, well, the only recourse you have is to hire a lawyer, spend hundreds of thousands of euros minimum, and months of your life in court with people you probably don't like. But unlike a patent which costs you 30,000 euros minimum and 2 years of your life, it's free. And you've given a bunch of goodwill into the world, so maybe there will be people who will help you. And in fact, someone did violate the terms of my open hardware license, and they stole an open hardware project. They used my trademark, TV Be Gone. They used my name, my email address. They copied everything poorly from some really nasty company in China, unlike the good companies that actually do exist there. That all they had to do was download the plans, and it would have been a great thing. But unfortunately, he decided to do it the way he did it, and within an hour and a half of his thing being on the market, hundreds of TV Be Gone fans alerted me to it so that I could put a stop to it. And that's because there were a lot of fans because it was open hardware. So, recommendations. I know what my recommendations are. Share. If you can, it's a wonderful thing to do. It's good for you because it feels great. It's good for your project because of all the things I said. Good PR, people will help you for free. You can improve your thing for free. It's good for your company if you have one because more people find out about it and more people will buy your thing. It's good for everyone. So, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. It was cool. I personally own TV Be Gone for more than 15 years, so thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Any questions?
Comments?
Comments? Something?
Okay, good afternoon. I have one question for the IP cores, which can be used even in commercial sector and so on. It would be great if there is something like LGPL license. And we have got two big problems that practical LGPL is okay, not well suited for the hardware and IP cores. So basically, have you some idea what could be a good replacement of LGPL for IP cores to FPGAs and even to the silicon and so on? Because we are in the development of such stuff.
Yeah. So this is an ongoing thing. It's been around since 2010, the notion of open hardware explicitly, but it was pretty small back then, and it's just getting kind of big now. That one screen I showed you is only some of the open hardware licenses. The one that seems to be the most popular lately is the CERN open hardware license, which is probably the most similar to GPL. But I'm not a lawyer, and so I'm not sure how to recommend the best license for any project, but some of the licenses now look pretty complicated too. They're like pages of legalese, which is unfortunate. I just use Creative Commons. I want people to copy it, so I'm not really trying to put restrictions on. Just give me credit and share it alike so that other people can continue to benefit from it. And that's sort of my attitude, but everyone can choose for themselves what they think is most advantageous or cooler.
May I? Oh. So I would like to ask about what you already started, the enforcement of the open source hardware license, because we already have this issue in software. Many big companies steal the free software and use it as they want, without any attribution or without releasing the modifications that they provided, they did. So my question would be regarding the open source hardware. There is this growing issue with Chinese manufacturers basically taking some open source hardware and making profit out of it, which technically shouldn't be an issue as long as they provided a product of the same value. And this is your case, I see, but this is happening in large scale with many different open source hardware projects. So I think maybe can you go a little bit more onto what was your result? If, for example, this would happen to you again, would you do the same? Would you take them to court, or what are the options?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. So a couple of things. Kickstarter, when it became big, Kickstarter was originally created for artists to put art into the world and get paid for it by people who like their art. But it very quickly became a place where people can do hardware projects and do pre-sales. They tried to discourage that, but it didn't work, and then they just went with it, and they've made huge profits ever since. Crowd Supply created a platform explicitly for pre-sales for open hardware projects, so that's probably a better way to go. But in the early days of people doing hardware on Kickstarter, these Chinese companies are really, really good. They have an army of engineers, really good engineers, not very creative necessarily, at least not in that environment, but they're really good at seeing a project that exists, making it good enough, sort of a trade-off between doing it cheaply and quickly and good enough that people will buy it, and they copy it to the best of their abilities, and they put out the project on Kickstarter before the original creator even had a chance to get their thing together and put it into the world. So that was pretty nasty. And now you can, so let's see, I don't want to get into a whole thing about this, but what is advantageous is when you have a project and you're putting it out in the world, it's really important to get the trademark, I think, or registration for the name, the mark in Europe. And also, it's a good idea to do it in China. And then you have recourse, because if anyone copies your thing in China, you can hire a lawyer there for really cheap, and they'll just call AliExpress or Alibaba and say, this isn't okay, and then they'll take it down. But along with that, come up with your second version of whatever it is and have that ready in the pipeline. But don't do a Kickstarter before you're ready to just manufacture and put it out there. You're totally ready, the prototype's ready, it's ready for manufacture. You already have the second idea ready to go, not necessarily ready to just push the spend button and put it into the world, but you've got your prototype working, you know what it's going to be, you have your thing, your name trademarked, it's all ready. Then you do tons of PR as best as you can with whatever so-called social media and your friends and friends of friends network, and then do the Kickstarter or Crowd Supply or Indiegogo or whatever, all at the same time, and then hopefully you can put your thing out at least as fast as these people who see, oh, this is popular, let's copy it and put it out before they do. Hopefully you can do it at least at the same rate and ready for it. And then also ready, in case they do copy it, to have recourse, because you have maybe a friend of a friend of a friend with a lawyer in China. So that's one thing. The other is if you know, you're doing your thing because you think it's totally awesome, hopefully. Otherwise, I think you're wasting your time. If someone can do it as good or good enough and cheaper and provide it to more people, well, now you have time and energy to do something else. The world is not an ideal place, but this is kind of the way it is. And if you have a patent, it's not going to make any difference whatsoever, except that you'll have to pay the 30,000 euros minimum plus 2 years of your life to get the patent. Totally useless. That's only good for huge corporations that have people who are paid to go through that expense and time. But people are going to steal it regardless. That's capitalism. Any way people can make money, they will. Ethical, moral, legal, if they can get away with it, they do. Yeah.
Hi. Thank you very much, Mitch, for your talk. It's great to see you here and to hear you. And thank you for sharing, too. But open hardware is not my area. So what I don't understand is, what is the relationship of the community with the people building the hardware, like the chips manufacturers, that they are not open hardware, but you need them, and they don't want it, and now RISC-V. And so what is this relationship with the manufacturers of those chips?
The manufacturers? Yeah, so this is really new, but there are starting to be open hardware chips. And RISC-V is an open hardware architecture for CPUs. And it's now totally in production, and there's some companies that do it as open hardware. So that's at least a start. There are people also, and also oddly enough with the help of Google of all things, making open hardware FPGAs and open tool chains made by employees of Google and with help from an international community of people, yeah, and all over the world, people helping. So it's a start, and then with these open hardware FPGAs, we can make all sorts of truly open hardware. And there's one guy, Bunny Huang, who lives in Singapore, I think, at least he did, and he's been doing stuff as open as possible, including an open as possible laptop. That was a few years ago, before the pandemic, and then he also made, and I think that might be a current project, an open hardware phone, as open as possible. So of course, there's some things which aren't open, and in a phone, there's binary blobs from Broadcom and things like that, but as open as possible. And the idea, at least Bunny's idea and many others, is to make it more and more open as modules, chips, open hardware is available to make it more open. So that's where we're at now, as far as I know.
Hello. I was wondering if the new and newly proposed right to repair laws might be an opportunity for open source hardware, and any comments you may have on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope so. Right to repair laws are pushed by a bunch of people in the US and in Europe. There's this one guy, a crazy guy named Louis Rossmann, who is most famous for having these outrageous sort of Olympiad kind of repair Apple laptop kind of videos. And he's amazing at doing stuff like that. But he hates Apple. He hates Apple because they are designed to not be repaired, but he's like, fuck you, I'm going to repair them anyways, and then he shows the world how he does it. But he's got it as an extension of that kind of energy of his, pushing right to repair laws, and it's actually getting traction. So as far as with open hardware, certainly open hardware is more repairable, so maybe companies can pick up on that. I don't know if they are. I hope they will. If I have any choice, I would love to help make that happen, but no one's asked me.
All of this is great, but the question of funding and, you know, getting through the 10 years and then 1.5 years of developing it is hard, right? So how did you fund yourself? And do you know if there are any open hardware foundations that might support development and so on?
Good question. I'm glad you asked it. So there's a couple things. Doing a crowdsource funding is a really good way of funding it once you're ready to manufacture. Funding yourself in the process is another matter. So there are these organizations that exist for that. One of them is NLNet. Originally in Netherlands, they're based there, but they fund projects all over the world now, mostly in Europe, but also elsewhere. I'm working on a project from a person from Argentina. It's his project, but I'm helping with doing the PC boards and learning amazing things with KiCad, which has gotten so wonderful and fun to use. But anyways, NLNet, you give a proposal, and they give about 50,000 euros in that range, maybe more, enough so that you can live while you're doing your project, and they give you a year. And you create, if you're accepted and they approve your budget, you can get that amount just by releasing source files in a public place. GitLab, your own website, Hackaday, whatever. And you can get it in chunks, it's up to you, or wait till the end. Most people have goals, and if every goal you meet, you get part of the budget until you reach the end. So the project I'm working on now got 50,000 euros, and he's been reaching the goals, and it's working really, really well. And he gets to fund himself, especially in a country like Argentina that just got taken over by one of the biggest nut jobs on the planet, who's destroying the economy even worse than it was before, with 400% or something outrageous like that inflation. And he gets paid in euros as he does his project. So he's in pretty good shape compared to many other Argentinians because of NLNet. There are other organizations that do this as well. There's one in Germany called Prototype Fund. But anyways, there are others, so those are worth looking into. Oh yeah, and when you're ready for manufacture, doing crowdsource is a great way to go. It's also a really good way. It's a lot of work. It sounds easy, you know, you just put up a website and say, I got this cool thing, give me money. But it's a lot of work to do a crowdsource funding thing. But this is a great way not only to get funding for by pre-sales, but also to see how many people think your thing is cool enough to pay for. And also to see if your publicity is working well enough. Those are kind of related.
Okay, thank you very much once again, Mitch. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks everyone.